Welcome to the Tarot Snapshot for Sunday, March 31st. It is Easter, and whether you celebrate Easter from a Christian perspective or not, this is an opportunity for us to take a look at the idea of rebirth and regeneration, resurrection of the spirit, if you will. And I'm a big believer in the cycle of death, regeneration, resurrection, and rebirth. Not necessarily from a Christian perspective, but one just from a spiritual perspective. Now, the Tarot Snapshot is a reading of 3 cards. We're going to take a look at who we are, where we're at in the moment, what vexes and perplexes us, what heals and reveals. And I want to make sure that I make the most out of your time here. So how do we go ahead and lean into this idea of rebirth and regeneration? I think the most important step, perhaps just the first step, if you will, is we have to believe that it's possible, that we have to believe that we can become a different version of ourselves. I think that's the first step of that process. I'm so grateful that I'm not the person that I was at 17. I'm so grateful that I'm not the person that I was just 3 years ago. That we're always, hopefully, moving up this process of evolution and change, resurrection, rebirth. Let's take a look at the card that represents us this week. The card that I pulled that represents us, you, me, everybody that's watching this video, is the Knight of Swords. Okay. There's a lot of conventional tarot wisdom in this idea that certain knights are unhealthy. There's the Knight of Swords, the Knight of Wands has a bad rap. And I don't jive with that. I don't believe that. Whenever a knight comes up, a knight is a person of integrity and honor and devotion. The knight is devoted to a higher calling. So first and foremost, let's take a moment to sit with the higher calling that you believe in. For me, I believe in love. I believe in the strength and the wisdom that love can provide us. I believe that we should be able to love ourselves and tap into that strength and wisdom as much as we give that to other people. I believe in family. I believe in community. I believe in living a life of peace, contribution, abundance, health, so as to not regret our life when we pass away. The knight is devoted. And the swords represent the mind. So this is a card that could tell us to be devoted to the mind, to train the mind. I'm a big believer in conventional therapy. I don't believe that we're set up to succeed with our mental aspects. Think about how young kids nowadays being exposed to social media in such a horrendous, awful way. They're taught to compare themselves to other people that are just presenting the idealized version of themselves. There's an incredible mental health crisis in this country and in this world, most especially for young kids. And I think that it's vital for us to remember how important it is to train our mind, to get the help where necessary. And while conventional therapy might not be the ticket for you, think about what self-help books can do, whether you listen to them, whether you read them, YouTube videos that help you, and perhaps even this video right here giving you a different perspective, helping you to use your mind with a different degree of accuracy and skill. Remember your higher calling, and remember that you have to train, you have to be devoted, you have to be committed to taking care of yourself. The knight who doesn't take care of themselves, whether it's in their mind or their body or their belief systems, they can't protect their kingdom. They can't be as devoted to that higher calling as they'd like to be. So here is that reminder that we have to take care of ourselves, mind, heart, body, spirit, to be the best version of ourselves. To invest in ourselves is to invest in our family, to invest in our community, and to invest in the world around us. The card that vexes and perplexes us, our challenge this week. The Ten of Swords. Interesting when I was talking about rebirth and regeneration. It's not a very fun looking card, is it? It's not really. This card does talk about death. It talks about dying and the mental landscape. It fits perfectly in with what I'm talking about this week. There is this energy with this card of just being so inundated with our thoughts, our anxieties, our worries, that it feels like we're just depleted. There's nothing left. There is a new dawn, though. You can see this darkness moving away and this light sky right here. This card does talk about the rebirth that comes from death. I'm called to talk about the rebirth that would happen after somebody gets divorced. Think about what kind of death that would be. The death of the former version, the married person, and then the rebirth of that single person, the person that's free from that obstructive and hindering relationship. That's the message of this. I think sometimes we get stuck, though. Think about the person who gets divorced, carries trauma after the papers have been signed. They can't move past. They have a hard time waking up. And again, that fits very nicely with this idea of the resurrection and rebirth. So we get a lot of stuff going on in the mind because we see the Knight of Swords and the Ten of Swords, but let's take a look at the card that heals and reveals. What's our medicine? What's our guidance? That card is the Queen of Pentacles. Queen of Pentacles. So the Pentacles represent the earth element. As much as you can, consider getting out into nature. Consider getting out into Mother Nature, the abundance of the plants, or even if it's not greening up where you're at, the streams, the rivers, the trees, what have you. There is also this energy. As I receive this card, it feels like big Virgo energy to me. Big Virgo energy. Virgos, I was raised by one. This is my mom's card right here. Virgos, well, I don't want to call them perfectionists. I want to call them idealists. Virgos can judge themselves perhaps even more harshly than they judge or hold to account people around them. But I've learned long ago not to take the energy of the Virgo personally, because ultimately the Virgo, if they're judging us or they're holding us to account, it's simply because they want the best. That's what holding ourselves to ideals is, wanting the best. So this is that idealism. We should strive for our ideals, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to fall victim to them. How can you nurture yourself? Because Virgos have that big nurturing energy. I mean, I get that from my mom. Every Virgo that I've ever known, as while they might be idealists, they're also great nurturers. How can you nurture yourself back to life? Think about the Pentacles and what the Pentacles can teach us. Patience. If you plant a seed, you could yell and scream at that seed, not going to cause it to grow any faster. Patience doesn't mean being complacent. So when we plant a seed, we also water it. If the rain isn't falling, we fertilize it. If the soil needs amending, it's somebody who participates in the forces of nature while understanding that the forces of nature are going to move at their own pace. You need to become reborn into something new. That's a force of nature. There's going to be things around you that might delay that process, hold it up a little bit. But this card right here is saying nurture yourself through it. In the same way that you would nurture a field, take care of a field, nurture, fertilize. That's what this card is all about. New beginnings require healthy soil. And I think that's our message for this week. Don't neglect yourself. Don't betray yourself. Don't deny yourself the very basics that you need. But imagine if you gave yourself more than just the basics. If you gave yourself more than just the bare minimum. Think of what kind of crops that you could grow, that you could fertilize, that you could harvest. This is the person who understands being the best version of themselves. That requires them to invest in themselves. So I'm going to encourage you to invest in yourself, encourage you to invest in your rebirth, becoming that brand new version of yourself. Much love to you. Take care of yourself. Happy Easter. Happy rebirth.